Great. So we're here with Ashwini from Obi. Welcome. Just to start off with, tell our listeners a little bit about Obi and what Obi does.
Sure. Obi is a rideshare aggregator. So what that means is that users are able to see prices for example, if you're in London, Uber, Bolt, FreeNow, Get, all in one platform. And it's essentially the kayak for rideshare.
Okay, cool.
So that's what Obi is. And for us, it's a great way for consumers to receive price transparency and be able to pick the best option.
Yeah, because that's always a difficult thing, particularly in a large city when there's surge pricing and other things. That often that might be app specific and all those kind of things. So it's definitely for cities where that transport is quite an expensive option, which it can be. I think here I've been using Uber, and I know one time I paid $9 for a trip, and another time I paid $29 for the same trip.
Exactly.
When the football was on Saturday. So yeah, it's good. I probably should have used Obi in that situation. And your background as well, you're long-standing mobility kind of expert and entrepreneur as well. So tell us a little bit about your journey and how you've found yourself in the Obi world.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't call myself a mobility expert. I am actually, though. I have done deals in the rideshare industry across two companies. Upside, which is $1 billion startup.
Yeah.
And I did deals on the driver side for Uber, Lyft, Instacart, DoorDash, so gig economy overall.
Yeah.
Learned a lot about rideshare then.
Yeah.
And then that had me move over to Obi, where I'm the chief revenue officer and responsible for go-to-market, sales, growth, and our overall strategy for the company.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, really interesting to come from with that expertise into a startup or a scale up, I guess. And Obi, going back to your product and kind of where you're covering. So what markets are you guys operating? You talked about London, but like how far wide are you guys spread?
So we have a variety of providers in our app. They include Cabify, Ola in India. And so we operate really wherever Uber operates or Bolt and any of the major rideshares. So Europe, United States, Canada, Latin America, India, and the Middle East and Sub-Saharan Africa. So I think we have like a pretty broad reach.
Yeah.
We don't integrate at the moment with the East Asian countries, like looking at Southeast Asia, Thailand, with Indonesia, and China, of course. So we have a gap there, and our hope is that we'll be able to move to that part of the world. We have a global user base because rideshare is a remarkable industry. I gave a presentation yesterday, and I said, why are we talking about rideshare, right? It feels like we're in this conference, and everyone's talking about autonomous vehicles and EV. But, if you look at Waymo, the first thing they're doing is operating as a taxi and as a rideshare. The industry is going to grow to $480 billion by 2032. It's expected to grow by 4x.
Yeah, okay.
Over a period of eight to 9 years. Yeah. So there's a lot of opportunity in it still.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's definitely an evolving space. I think I read something yesterday about Tesla was saying about bringing a new vehicle to market specifically for rideshare and saying that they want to make it basically cheaper than a bus. And I was like, okay, right.
That would be remarkable, right? Yeah. Because rideshare prices have skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Right? Consumers in the U.S. are paying an average of $33 for a ride.
Right. Wow.
Consumers in London and in Europe have been luckier because they have more competition.
Yeah.
And there's several providers, so that kind of forces prices flat.
Yeah.
Versus in the US, you're in a duopoly.
Yeah, definitely. We've definitely seen it in the UK. Volt went quite hard into that market, and actually that kind of disrupted.
They've been winning.
They've been winning a lot of that stuff. So that's been really creating an interesting space. So yeah, I definitely think that's kind of going to see how that evolves through. In a lot of the stuff that we do, we're talking about the kind of like vehicles and assets. Some of our customers are people subscribing vehicles to Uber drivers, for example. So we know the cost of vehicles are increasing, cost of insurance is increasing. So as an industry, it has pressures on its unit economics, I guess. But ultimately, as it scales, it's going to also drive price down.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge, right? I think that this was always a subsidized industry.
Yeah.
So we published an 80-page rideshare report just yesterday, along with being at the Move conference, and one of my favorite graphs in the report is called How to Win Market Share.
Yeah.
And it really shows like Uber undercutting market pricing so extremely that they were giving 100% of the fare to the driver
Right. Yeah.
to recruit more drivers on, get more users on, lower and just get people used to like the service at low cost to a point where it became so sticky and such a habit that you can't move away from it. So people are now willing to pay more and go longer distances in rideshare.
Yeah.
And it's going to become like, I mean, it has become like a way we travel, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to be able to have a
And it is that thing of people say, I'm going to grab an Uber. Like it's almost like become the word for getting a taxi now, right? Like I remember the last time I used get a taxi.
or I'm going to Uber there.
Get an Uber.
Okay,
Yeah.
like
And it confuses me because I mostly use Bolt in the UK, but I still say I'm going to grab an Uber.
Yeah.
I sometimes say grab a Bolt, but it's for some reason.
well, it's like Googling, right? And you might go to Bing or, now people say I'm going to chat GPT something, but they don't always, it's not always like, it does become a verb, and that's a sign of how ubiquitous.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So definitely a fascinating space. And at the Move event last couple of days, what's kind of the most exciting thing you see? So obviously you guys launched your rideshare report, which I haven't seen, but I'm now going to check out.
At our booth, yeah.
Well, hats, even better. But what kind of outside of that, what's kind of most interesting topic or thing?
Yeah. So the biggest thing I would say is we were at the Move London conference, and now we're in the Move America in Austin, Texas conference, and the conversation is completely different.
Yeah.
The Move London conference was about EVs and batteries, which you see here, but it was also about micromobility, and that was the huge focus.
Yeah.
And we spoke to a lot of people from major European car companies who were very dismissive of autonomous vehicles.
Yeah.
The difference here, as you can see, as you walk through, you're greeted by a massive truck that's meant to be an autonomous vehicle that's like going to haul freight. Autonomous vehicles are here in the US. Waymo just launched.
They are literally here. In Austin.
Yeah, they're literally in Austin.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the big difference, right? And I think that, to me, like, I was puzzled in Europe a little bit that there wasn't a bigger focus, or people seemed dismissive.
Yeah.
But now, it reinforced the idea, because in the US, this is the conversation, and that's where things are moving. And if you go to San Francisco, I've gone in a Waymo there. I haven't called one in Austin yet, but I probably should.
Yeah.
But that's the big thing, and I'm excited to see that, because I think that's where the world is going, and driving is actually pretty dangerous sometimes, and so it's good to have this as an option for people.
Yeah, definitely. I think in Europe, I mean, there's generally a skepticism towards change in the auto industry. Like I'm an auto guy by my background, so I'm allowed to say about these people, my former peers. But I think also there's just a complexity in Europe around like the cities and how they are. Like it does lend itself to a city like Austin, where it's blocks and blocks. We just don't have cities like that in Europe. But I think just generally we've got this reluctance to change. We want innovation, and then we want to like drag it back to the status quo. It's like it seems to be the approach where I go, hey, you want to do this innovative thing? They launch it, and then they go, oh, this is like a bit too innovative for us. Let's try and make it like kind of a bit like we do it today anyway. So we always have this like inertia, this entropy back to status quo.
It's all right. Like with autonomous vehicles, we saw what happened with Cruise.
Yeah.
And the accidents, and that's a very fair thing to demand that gets pulled back. But I think the big difference is that I was excited to see that here. I was excited to see that this is happening. The conversation is occurring. We're very curious. Right now, a Waymo is more expensive than an Uber.
Yeah, right.
It costs more. So I'm very curious to see how pricing ends up working in that market.
Yeah, for sure.
And people are willing to pay more for the novelty of the ride.
Yeah, of course. At the moment, yeah, for sure. But in theory, the cost should become lower, right? We were saying earlier about the unit cost. You remove the driver. You should be able to reduce the insurance costs, because you should be safer and less accidents in autonomous vehicles. So in theory, should bring those costs down.
Yeah.
As you say, time will tell as to how that progresses and how that compares to the market forces, I guess. Also, I really wanted to try a Waymo while I'm here, but I can't. They won't give me an access code. So if you're allowed to like share, I don't know if you have any share.
Let me check too.
I'd like to try one before we leave. So I keep seeing them driving around. So it's fine. I downloaded the app.
Okay.
That's cool. Ashri, thanks for joining us. I really enjoyed the chat. Enjoy the rest of the conference, and we'll probably see you at Move in London next year.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.